Hey guys, welcome back to Infamous Builds, and today I just figured I would go ahead and make a, more of a final thoughts video on my C6 Z06. I know in the last video I was talking about, in the CTSV video, I was talking about how I was going to be selling the CTSV. I'm actually selling these two as a pair if it all works out. One guy's actually interested in buying both of these at the same time, the CTSV and this Z06. This is the car that we did the headlight video on. If it was worth doing the lighting, we did the headlights and taillights on it. Put it all back to stock for reasons you'll see hopefully within the next week and a half, or we'll be picking up within the next week and a half of filming this video anyways. But I just wanted to make a video kind of my final thoughts on the C6 Z06, because I've now had a C6 base, or a few C6 bases, and two C6 Z06s. And this one's a 07 in particular, the one that started the channel. If you've been watching that long or staying with us, the one that started the channel was a 2012 Supersonic Blue, extremely rare car, one of 13. This one's a little bit less rare, but it's still a C6 Z06. This one has a clean title. That one had a salvage title. So that one I wasn't able to, take on the streets. But this one I've had some, not enough. I haven't driven this thing enough. I've only put a couple hundred miles on it, if that. I don't remember exactly. We've maybe put 200 or 300 miles on this since we bought it, which really isn't much compared to what we're used to doing, but I don't know. It's just something to do with the mileage. The mileage being 41,000 miles, pretty low mileage. One of the lowest mileage cars I've ever owned. And it just, I don't know. There's a reservation in me that makes me want to not drive it so much. But that was one of the biggest things that held me back from driving this car. And, driving it normally compared to the black base model that I had, I know we didn't really do a good intro on that, or any video really of any sort on that, unfortunately. Actually, we might have some sort of a video hiding somewhere in one of our phones, but anyways, I digress. I'll hop off the pedal stool here. And yes, so my final thoughts on this 2007 C6 generation Corvette Z06. Driving it normally, again, as I said, like that black base model that I had, it wasn't as enjoyable. That car, the black car was cammed, it was a lot louder exhaust than this. This just has headers and a mid pipe, and it's catted. Still stock mufflers and everything. Just the fuses pulled for the valve on the mufflers, and it really doesn't make it that much louder. But it's still pretty quiet. This is louder than the CTSV with exhaust that's on that, but yeah, just driving it normally, you don't get the same experience out of it. It's when you start pushing the car and driving it how it's built to be driven. It's got 285s out front and 335s out back, which is wider than stock, but it's not really meant to go in a straight line or get driven normally. It was meant to be pushed. And this car makes somewhere between 550 horsepower with the light modifications that were done. It's a lot of fun. Very torquey. It's nice having it up at 7,000 RPM. It's amazing car. I have absolutely no complaints with it. I just wasn't as tempted to drive it, because when you do drive it, you should drive this car how it was built, and it was built to be driven hard. It was built to be pushed through corners. There's roads near here that I was doing. I was doing a very good speed on, that's all I'll say, but pushing it through corners and pushing it as fast as you can through corners is really what this car was meant to do. And, that's what I would recommend buying this car for. If you want a daily driver, no, you're not going to get the enjoyment out of it. You'll get bored of it. It's, honest to God, you'll get bored of it. I got bored of it, and that's why I didn't drive it until I started really driving it hard, within reason. But yeah, pushing it past 2,500 RPM, pushing it past even 4,500 RPM, that's where this car sings, and that's where it's meant to be, and that's it, you really have to push the car to get enjoyment out of it in a stockish configuration. I believe it was heads cam intake making 700 horsepower, then the car would be a spectacle. But as is, it's actually pretty tame until you really push it, and um, it's absolutely a fun car. I do not regret buying this whatsoever. Got it for a great deal, selling it and making great money on it. That's only half of why I bought it. I just really wanted to scratch my itch because I wasn't able to drive my other Z06, and I have a Pro Charger sitting for this thing that won't end up going on it. It's just, I don't know. it's we're moving on to something different now, which should take the base model and the Z06 to a whole other level, and we'll see how much enjoyment I get out of that car, and that the next car that's replacing this will be a bucket list car. But yeah, I mean, and I've looked between going, I've looked between C6s and C7s. I'm not a huge fan of the C7s exterior wise. I like the interior on the C7s a lot better than these. The interior on these is a lot better than the C5s. I own a C5 as well. And it's just, it feels cheap in the C5. It's more of a beater than anything to me. And, it makes me sound like I've got a ton of money, but I don't. And I do this for fun. And again, it makes me seem like I have a ton of money or mommy, daddy's money. Not the case. But yeah, the interior is just mediocre quality, and I really like the way that the exterior of these are, and especially the Z06 with the carbon fiber front fenders, the wide body, front and rear. And this car was a very easy fix when I got it from auction and stuff like that. The main reason I'm selling it too is prices are so high right now with everything that's going on in the economy that it just doesn't make sense not to sell it, especially when I've already found a replacement for this. That was also a good deal. But yeah, it was a very enjoyable ownership experience. There's so much more I'd like to do with one of these cars. I just feel bad beating that much on this specific car. Love to make a drift car or a dedicated track rat out of one of these, but it doesn't make sense with a clean title car or something with this low miles. Like if I were to find a 200,000 mile Z06, sure, I would make a track rat out of it, drift it, do whatever, daily drive it. I wouldn't care, but just this particular car, I would not. And it's just the stigmatism of a lot of older people buying these cars and driving them, and they don't push them, so I honestly don't understand how they get the enjoyment out of the Z06 base model, sure. But yeah, I mean, I drive responsibly, and this car is kind of boring to drive very responsibly, or like you would drive your everyday driver, like a normal person would drive their everyday driver anyways. But yeah, no complaints on this, and I'll have a lot more thoughts following up on this when the next project comes in, because it has some differences, and I'll be able to really have a true opinion on this one, and you'll see why when that comes around. But overall, again, no gripes with this car. Just yeah, absolutely phenomenal ownership experience. Haven't driven it a ton, as I've said over and over again. But the handling on this thing is an absolute monster. It'll take whatever you throw at it, and it handles like it's on rails. I absolutely love the way this car handles, and brakes and power. Everything is a really good, all well-rounded package. As far as gas mileage goes, it's not great. You don't buy these cars for the gas mileage, but my black base model got 35 miles to the gallon around town. Or no, that was on the highway. Between 25 and 30 miles to the gallon just around town, and that was cam, full exhaust intake. And this does not. I haven't really calculated it or put as many miles on it. But yeah, that's just, I guess, pretty much my final thoughts on this car. Great car. I would buy again. Don't regret buying this car whatsoever. It's been a lot of fun. Just I regret not driving it as much, and realizing how you had to drive it until like a couple weeks ago to get the most out of this car, and for it to make sense to buy this versus a base model. Um, and I'll have a couple more videos, as I said, to make once the replacement gets here, and you'll understand why. But um, anyways, just thanks again for watching this video, guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment, and I'll certainly respond. I love these cars. I love Supras. I love having new experiences, and this was a great experience and scratched that itch of a Z06 for me. So, but anyways, thank you guys for watching, and hope you have a great day, and stay tuned for the next one.